Hey. I'm back from the store. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing today? What are you guys tweaking for? Everything alright?
Can you be normal?
No. This is not how this story ends! I won't let it end like this! From the moment I set foot on this set, you've been here too! And I'm sick of it! I should have done this a long time ago. Inch by inch, day by day, disproportionate.
Not drawing all that, huh?
Tweaking bosses, lines and crosses, what the fuck was it all for? Now I gotta wager thousands, my reputation dragged through countless months. Now I gotta save what's happened, friends and fellas buzzing.
Yeah, you guys can see the apple, just imagine in your head. Well, fellas, I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed that. Oh boy, that was Hayes' submission for the art week, or the art prompt last week. And I did say that I was going to do it on stream, so there's your little treat. Lanny messaged me fucking 7 minutes ago. You're literally the fattest cunt. Hold up a minute. I need to do something. You.
What do you want?
Why are you so mad? Why are you so angry?
If I see you beep boop bop IRL, I'm going to stuff you into a fucking wood chipper and turn you into little Mistamoto.
Lanny, what if... Okay, hear me out here.
Okay.
I fly to come see you, right? You come to the
Okay.
airport to pick me up, and you're like, ah, my
Nope.
good friend Humo is here. And I walk out of the airport, and I have a mic in my hand.
I pull out a gun and I shoot you 6 times in the head.
Why specifically 6?
Because I'm angry.
Not angry enough to do the full mag dot? Like, what gun has
You
6
don't-
bullets in? I mean, a revolver, but are you going to shoot me with a revolver?
No, I'm shooting you with a PM.
A PM.
Yeah,
That's not going to kill me.
good.
What do you mean?
You don't deserve to live, but you don't deserve to die. You also don't deserve a full mag.
Can you at least shoot me with 45 over 9 mil? That's the last thing he gets to say. Hey guys. You can't finish with that. I think I just did. I'm feeling pretty good tonight. All of a sudden, I'm feeling pretty good. It was funny watching you guys tweak out for the first 10 minutes of stream. Wow. But yeah, tonight's gonna be chapter 32 of None in the Chamber, fellas. Get excited. Here, let me give you some stuff on screen so that way you're not just in the void. Let's give you Puppet Jake, and then you can get Yellow Hair Ben, and they'll be holding hands, and that's what you get right now. I'm not gonna give you anything else in the void tonight. You're just getting those two. I don't feel like you've earned it. Let's see. Gotta pull up None in the Chamber on my other fucking monitor here. Ugh. Oh hey, chapter 35 is out now. Shit. It says 35 out of 36. There will be 36 chapters, apparently, I think. Shrugs. Fuck. We almost there, boys, truly. Now this is the romantic content I'm here for. I don't think there would be anything romantic about Jake and Ben. I think there's just 2 ways that goes. One of them, he ends up in a fucking toilet, and the other... theater of the mind, use your imagination. Lenny will shoot you 6 times and then whisper in your ear, Waifusi on Rosca? What? I don't understand that one. I'm fucking stupid. 35 is the last main chapter, bonus stuff afterwards. Oh. It's finished for your waifu is trash, although poorly translated. If he did that, I think I would rise from the dead and rip his head off. And then throw it down a bowling alley. But yeah, 35 is the last main chapter. Let me take a look at the schedule. Let me look at the calendar here real quick. Okay. So that means that today's 32, next week will be 33, week after that will be 34. And then either I do, well no, actually I wouldn't be around for that. Either I do a 2-parter on the 16th and wrap it up, or I save it for the fucking 30th. And it'll be literally end of the year. You get your last chapter of None in the Chamber. Decisions. It's over, guys. He's never reading the bounties. I am one man. I would like to read the bounties, but at the same time, good lord, I do not have enough time for all the streams that I need to do and the rest that I need to take so often. Begin the new year with the last chapter. I would end off this year with the last chapter is what I would do. If I began the next year with None in the Chamber, that would be... I would not be able to say that I did it within the year. And that would be crazy. Given that I started, like, what, late May or some shit? I'd say do it too for, but I know how that would go. I'll figure it out when we get there. At the very least, I can reliably finish up to chapter 35 this year. Which I will fucking take. Holy shit. He is a singular sleepy man. God rest him. Exactly. Rather do 2 in 1, honestly. We'll see how I'm feeling when that time rolls around. And pending a couple things, maybe I'll do that and then just take an extended reading break for a little bit. And then we'll start the next year with something fresh. Hell, maybe I'll just like spend one Monday and just do like a bunch of fucking bounty readings. We'll see. I gotta pull up Desktop Fag. Where's that bitch? Get your ass out here. Drag that fucker onto the screen now. Would you inflate like a balloon if you did a bunch of streams? Yeah, and then I would go. I would die. Explosion. Uh-oh, no more Huma streams. He's dead as fuck. Try to get rest then, dog. I do try to get rest. I try so desperately to get rest, and then I realize I have more streams I must do. Like, after stream today, I gotta get some shit written for the next spotlight. And then on top of that, I gotta go play video games. You know, my obligation as a gamer, I have to go play video games with people. I need to do it or I will die. I will wither away and die. This has truly been Humo's Odyssey. It's been a fucking voyage, I'll give you that. Gather around the fire, children. Grandpappy Humo blesses us with Yuletime yap. Man, I don't even know what I'm gonna do on like fucking... I actually don't know what the plan is with my family for the Christmas. Let me see here, because I know we're going on like a fucking... You're not going to get streams from like... Shit, I want to say the 19th to at least the 25th. So like there will be like a whole week off. At that time, because I'm going on a family trip to ski resort, and then the 24th, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, I'll probably be hanging out with family. You might get a stream Christmas night. Maybe that'll be like a little treat for you guys. Who knows? Who knows indeed? Yeah. Looking at the schedule right now just to make sure I've got like things mostly planned out here. I think I'm good for the most part. I think we're good. You would be a long balloon, not a cool round one. That's so fucking mean of you. When you get a long day. When you got a long day of playing video games. I play games all the time, motherfucker. Last night I was playing the Gamma update for Stalker. Or, well, the Stalker Gamma update, not the Gamma update for Stalker. I mean, technically that's true as well, but you get what I'm saying. And I was having a fun time with that. For those of you who are aware of all that shit, what was it? Fucking... I was able to repair a Chimera Hunter, got a shit slinger in the form of a shotgun with a decent enough barrel, and everything else destroyed the shit. And a 5.7, and I went and did Miracle Machine. I forgot how strong fucking pseudo giants are. I swear to God that they fucking, I swear to God that they were weaker before. I feel like they got buffed, but maybe I'm tripping. Gaming isn't worth this systematic oppression, but I love it so much. The most oppressed group, gamers. Hold up a minute. I gotta play that clip now. I gotta like listen to it. No, not. Don't take me to the fucking studio. Take me to like YouTube. It's whatever. Here we go. The most oppressed group of all, gamers. There we go. Might as well put it up on stream too, for the hell of it. Where's display caption? There it is.
With the glass ceiling broken, all the oppressed groups shall prosper, especially the most oppressed group of all, gamers.
That's so dumb. It's so dumb. Can't wait to see how far we get by this time next year. I haven't even thought about what next year's gonna look like, dog. I'm ahead of his time, really. A prophet. Why do you do this to yourself? At least you hydrate. Enjoy the fam trip. I mean, I will enjoy the fam trip. I'm gonna be snowboarding and shit. Maybe I'll even post some shit about it in the Discord while I'm doing it. Work on Christmas Day into the night. Well, maybe the stream will be there waiting for you. Ain't gonna visit Kentucky, maybe for New Year's. If you're asking if I'm gonna visit a certain person, I would like to. Logistically, though, I'd have to figure all that out. Love to stay and enjoy the reading session, but this easy overtime I picked up is off to a shit start since my truck broke down, and now I have to catch up with my ramp schedule. Later, guys. Alright, Callard, take care. 3 to 4 stream was great. I'm just remembering all the shit that happened with that Stalker 2 shit. That was fucking ridiculous. I'm playing Stalker Shadows of Chernobyl to understand locations and faction leaders. I love seeing the history. Yeah, I need to go back at some point and really play a lot of those games, because I think the only one I really touched was Call of Pripyat, and then I digested a lot of the lore and stuff through Anomaly and, you know, just looking shit up. Favorite shotgun from Gamma Homo? Raptor or the KS-23 Draws? 4-gauge, my beloved. Obviously, it's going to be the KS-23. Look, I can fuck with Buckshot, you know? Buckshot has its role in, like, killing just about every mutant and having a decent time against other stalkers. However, KS-23 just slaps so fucking hard. It's awesome watching a monolith, like, walk up to you and then suddenly not have his head anymore. It's just beautiful. Lanny was right. I got a PragerU ad. No shot. You actually got the PragerU? The only thing I really... Anytime anybody mentions PragerU, I just remember, like, the fucking shitpost where it's like, I want mommy, I want to be fed, I want milkies. And if you do not do all of these things, I will ruin your life. Let me see if I can find that one too. PragerU, I want mommy. Here we go.
I want mommy, I want milk, I want to be held, I want to be comforted. And if you do not do all these things immediately, I will ruin your life.
Didn't need the sound effects, but you know, good enough. Also in the finals, dusting lights with the KS-23 Chef's Kiss. Oh yeah, no, obviously. There's a reason that I use it in there. Look, if a game gives me the option to use the KS-23, I'm probably going to use the KS-23. It's just really cool. I'm in love with the VVS with 9x39. I can headshot monolith so well. That's also a pretty good one to use. But I want your mommy. I think I kill you now? I think I crush you with Big Hammer. Hey, guys. What do you think? What do you think? What if we just like started reading now? Shorter yap tonight. You get a short yap and then you get your chapter. What do you think? You don't think. Fair. Start reading now so we have 2 chapters. As if. As if. Laughs at you. But I live for the yap. Don't worry, Iron. We'll yap later. Oh, by the way, Iron, I was talking to Blue. If you want to run like some Nuclear Nightmare tonight, we can. Started playing Stalker, getting the authentic experience with crashes every 10 minutes. Yep, that's pretty authentic. Yes, someone ruined the yap. What that could have been. Wish you all a happy Christmas and have a good trip, Umo. Thank you. Ha! 2 chapters. Ha. Need to catch the last week's VOD first. Oops, I keep doing this. Don't worry, buddy. You'll catch up at some point. Probably at the end of the year. It'll be okay. All right. Let me hold up a sec. Let me open up my water. I could use some more water. I'll be right back. Once I get back with the water, we'll get started. So get yourselves comfortable. Okay, I'm back. I've pissed and achieved the means to make more piss, so I think we're in the clear, boys. Alright, so as is customary here, let's take a look. Comparatively, this chapter is just about the same length. If you remember correctly, at the end of last chapter, if we scroll all the way to the bottom, we've got Stella showed up. She's back. It's all cool, guys. Stella's back in the game. And her abusive boyfriend has been sent to prison with Amanda probably killing him later. So that'll be fun. For now, we gotta go pick up Amber from Grams. So, as always, go ahead, get comfortable. Probably be here for about hour and a half, hour 45, something like that. And yeah, let's get this going. Chapter 32. Beginning the world. Now if you're feeling kinda low about the dues you've been paying, future's coming much too slow, and you wanna run but somehow you just keep on staying, can't decide on which way to go? Yeah.
Daddy, you smell like ash.
I pause and look at Amber. She's sitting in her seat, looking at me very profoundly, very attentively. After a short moment of us looking at one another, she feigns a little cough. Stop overreacting. I don't smoke that much. She stares at me as I strap her in. Then she turns and waves at Samantha and Yadikin, standing at the front door, waving back at her. Samantha's smiling with tears in her eyes, while Yadikin keeps her arm wrapped tightly around her. Have a nice day, Ms. Murphy, and you, Trent. I give them a wave and get in the car. As I drive off, I hear rustling, then loud crunching in the back. I look in the rearview mirror and smirk, seeing Amber rummaging through a large brown paper bag given to her by Samantha right before she got in the car. Amber pulls out a large chocolate chip cookie, and after surveying it for a moment, she offers it to me. Oh no, Abby. Not now. I need to focus. I turn my eyes back to the road. Amber responds with a quiet grumble. Moments later, after hearing more crunching and rustling, I remark that she should leave some for the others at home. She pauses, murmurs to herself, then, after a bit more rustling, there's silence. So, Amby, did you have fun?
Yeah,
She calls out.
I helped Grandma in the garden, in the kitchen. We went to the park and we had ice cream and...
She starts to babble on and on about all the things she did during those 2 days. She really did a lot, which is no wonder. She's a very energetic kid. I smile, listening to her go on and on about the little adventures she had in Samantha's garden and around the park. I chuckle when she describes to me how she braved the monkey bars and conquered the weeds in Samantha's garden, amongst many other things.
And Grandma Sam made me bed upstairs, and it's a big room, bigger than the one I have at home.
She says with wide eyes open in amusement. My smile falters. Upstairs? There are only 3 bedrooms on the second floor there, only one of which sees any regular use. Okay, keep yourself together. Calm down, don't scare your kid. That's nice, Amby. What does the room look like? She doesn't notice the very slight tremble of my voice. Thanks, Doc V. You taught me a lot.
It's big, really big. And there's a desk, and when I came in with Grandma, there were clothes on it, and Grandma put them in the closet.
Amber rambles on.
And there's some golden cups on the shelves, and a big TV on the wall, and it's very clean. And walls are like
She pauses.
a bright orange.
For a brief, very brief moment, I'm in a state of complete shock. I don't move. I can't move. I'm silent. I can't speak. I look, but I don't see. This doesn't last longer than maybe 2 seconds, but in my stupefied state, it felt like minutes, hours, days. When I finally snap out of it, the realization hits me like a semi. Rosa told me about that room. It's Nazar's room. Amber's been sleeping in Nazar's room. Oh, God. She doesn't know. No, she doesn't need to know. Not now. Later, when she's older, much older. But why did Samantha let her sleep in there? She doesn't allow either me or Rosa in there when we visit, and she never mentions that room. When it comes to us, the room may as well never existed. Okay, focus. That's nice, Amby. I somehow managed not to give up my shock. Did you like it?
Mm-hmm.
Not a note of fear or worry in her voice. No wonder. Her late uncle prefers haunting me rather than his old dwelling place.
Daddy, did you feed my trilobites?
Oh, yeah, I did. They missed you. I see her eyes widen in the rearview mirror.
Really?
Yeah. They keep looking around for you. Keep the ball rolling. You better say hello to them when you get back.
Okay.
The rest of the drive home goes by in silence, often broken up by Amber asking me questions. Just like I did on Friday, I patiently answer every single last one of them to the best of my ability, with the last one arriving just as I'm driving onto the farmyard.
Daddy?
Yes? I parked the car on the gravel patch.
Will I ever see Mommy?
My heart starts beating faster. I turn off the engine and air still for a second before turning to my little girl with a sad smile. When you're older, Amby, I promise you, you will meet her one day. She nods and smiles. I get out of the car and get her out of her seat, then pick her up and put her on the ground. She looks around, then stops, noticing someone sitting on the porch staring at us. That someone is Stella. She's staring at Amber with great intensity, her eyes wide open, her mouth open a little. For a second, the stego looks like she's about to say something, but at the last moment, she shuts her mouth and turns her head away, tears glistening in her eyes. Amber turns and grabs a bag of cookies from the seat, then quickly walks off towards the stego. I follow close behind, surveying Stella carefully. I'm sure she doesn't want to say anything rash, but who knows? In her current state of mind, there may be a slip of the tongue. Amber stops right in front of Stella, who keeps looking away, her hand at her mouth, her eyes closed, her whole frame trembling as tears and sniffles escape her. Amber reaches into the bag, and after rummaging through it for a second, she pulls out a huge cookie, densely peppered with large chocolate chips.
Here.
Stella freezes, opens her eyes and looks at Amber without moving her head. Her eyes then shift, from her to the cookie.
Grandma Sam's cookies help me when I'm sad.
Amber offers the cookie to Stella. The stego swallows, slowly turns her head, and with a trembling hand, she takes the cookie.
Eat it.
Amber smiles at her.
You'll feel better.
Stella looks at the cookie, then at Amber, then at the cookie. With a shiver that racks her whole body, she puts the cookie on her lap and starts weeping into her hands. Amber steps back and looks up at me, scared and confused by this unexpected development. I take her hand and lead her inside the house. Rosa passes by us in the hall, sits by Stella and hugs her tightly, asking what's wrong.
Why is she crying?
Amber looks over her shoulder.
I gave her a cookie. She should feel better.
She tears up with a small sniffle. It's okay, Amber. Stella is... She's having a rough time. I pick her up and give her a smile. Let's go say hello to Grandma and Grandpa. We follow the sounds of the TV into the living room. There, both my step-parents and Sophia are watching some soap opera. A pretty old one, judging from the picture quality. Their attention shifts from the show to us as soon as we enter, grabbed fully by Amber's demeanor. Marisa gets up and walks over. What happened?
I gave Stella a cookie, and she started crying.
Amber sniffles, then buries her face into my shoulder. It takes us many assurances to convince her that she did nothing wrong, and when she does eventually settle down, turns out Stella had calmed down too. A moment of silence steals over the house. I decide to take Amber up to her room. Come on, pick her up. Let's go say hello to Mo and Larry.
And Curly.
We go upstairs. I set her down on the floor, and she books it down the corridor to her room. I smile as I follow her, listening to her greeting her trilobite trio. Why she named them after the Three Stooges eluded me in the beginning, but I think her watching their shorts with Sophia may have something to do with it. Come to think of it, I never heard Sophia laugh so loudly and wholeheartedly as when she watches those three buffoons. Wonder if Tomas enjoyed their antics as much as she does.
Daddy?
Amber turns to me when I peek in.
Do you think I could play a song for Stella?
Amber goes over to the bed and sits down.
To cheer her up.
She looks up at me. I smile. She's got a heart of pure gold. Maybe later, Amber. Stella needs some time to figure some things out. She nods, then presses her face against the fish tank. I come over and look inside next to her.
Daddy?
I'm quiet for a second, fearing what she may ask. Oh, please, almighty God, let it not be a question about Lucy or her family. I'll go mad if she keeps asking about that. Yes?
Can I go play outside?
Of course. I ruffle her hair. Come on. The tail end of June comes and goes. During that time, me and the rest of those who witnessed Chet's unwanted and unexpected visit gave our formal statements to the police at the station. Simone did decide to press charges against him, and he told us that the court case is scheduled for August. Great. Another tussle with the legal system. Here's hoping that we won't end up tangled like Naomi's old man. Besides us psyching ourselves up for a court hearing, there were other less intense happenings going on, namely Amber trying her damnedest to cheer Stella up by any means possible. Yes, the Stego requested to be allowed to stay on the farm for some time. Simone and Maurice's agreement came as a surprise to no one. Hell, none of us expected anything else. She's sharing the room with Rosa at the moment, having moved most of her stuff from her former apartment with the help of mine, Trish, and Reed's. Amanda comes and visits her from time to time, but seeing just how tense and unwilling to talk to her Stella is, I have serious doubts whether they'll be able to fix the relationship anytime soon, if ever. Conscience attempted to chastise me about not even trying to step in and try to work my magic, but I stamped my self-reproach down like a cockroach. That shit is none of my business. If they want to fix what's between them, it's up to them, not me. Gotta admit, though, seeing Amber leave the farm more sad and tense than when she arrives breaks my heart a bit more each time I see it. Stella ain't in any better mood after her mother's visits, but that's where my little princess steps in. Just yesterday, I saw her playing Trilobite Trill to Stella. I was sitting under the tree, resting after a hard day's work, when I heard the notes of the familiar song coming from the porch. Turning my head in that direction, I saw Stella and Amber sitting together by the porch table. Amber was strumming on her ukulele, looking up at Stella, telling her that silly little story about a brave little trilobite leaving his lair in search of adventure. Stella listened to it with great interest, even smiling when Amber arrived at the more ridiculous parts. I can't express how much of a relief it was to see Stella smiling. Those were small, faint smiles, but after weeks of seeing her gloomy and grave, seeing even such a faint sign of positivity healed some of the heartbreak I felt after witnessing the failure of Amanda's visits. It's honestly pretty unexpected just how much Amber has been concerned about Stella's foul mood. She's been trying everything she can to cheer the Stego up, no matter when and where. Jokes, anecdotes, silly little questions, anthropod trivia. She's relentless. And I have the hunch that under such unwavering assault, Fortress of Gloom won't hold out long. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows here. In the middle of July, on a very hot, sunny day, after having been watering the trees for the better half of the day, I head inside the house to grab my smokes and chill the hell out before Simone puts me through the paces again. They aren't in the kitchen where I left them. Weird. Maybe Moises took them. Fucking hell. I told him many times to start buying his own cigs and stop stealing mine. I swear to God, when I get my hands on him, The moment I turn my head, my train of thought comes to a screeching halt. Amber stands in the garden alone. She's holding my cigarettes. She has one of them in her mouth. My mad scramble outside, accompanied by a stifled cry of "No!" escapes my lips, startles her. She jumps, drops the cigarettes, one in her mouth falling to the ground. She then freezes as I race towards her, staring at me with wide eyes, a fearful gaze and her mouth slightly open. I stop next to her and snatch the pack and the singular cigarette off the ground, then look down at her. She cringes and cowers, her eyes widening even more. Who gave you this? Tears forming in the corners of her eyes and a slight trembling of her jaw make me realize that I said that with much more severity than I intended. My heart is pounding, and judging from how stiff and tingly my face is, I must be leering at her with an awful grimace.
I...
She drops her eyes to the ground, trembling all over. Fuck's sake, calm down. She's just a kid. Don't act like Ripley. A calming breath relieves the tension in my face, my mind, and my body. Not whole, but a great part of it. I crouch before Amber and put my hand on her shoulder. She freezes, her shivering cut off suddenly as she goes rigid. Amber, I say in a much calmer voice, where did you get this? I shake the pack. The rattling of cigarettes inside makes her look up, but the moment her eyes meet mine, she drops her gaze immediately. After a sniffle and a long silence, she slowly raises her head to look at me. She pauses. I patiently wait for her to continue, forcing myself to not show any emotions beside calmness and patience. My relaxed posture, paired with a slightly concerned expression, encourages her. She looks me straight in the face and goes off.
They were on the table, and I took them. I wanted to try. I saw you and Uncle Philippe with them, and it looked like you had fun, so I wanted to try.
She pauses and, suddenly turning bashful, she shifts away from me, nearly stepping into Maurice's cabbage patch. I let her move, my hand slipping off her shoulder and falling by my side. I don't even look at her as she steps back, suddenly gripped by an echo of the past. I'll not let my child live with a smoker. I promised. Nearly 4 goddamn years ago, I promised Lucy that I'd stop smoking. What did I do instead? I started smoking more and more. Will not let my child live with a smoker. Fuck, Anna, you goddamn idiot. Look what you've done. Amber. I look at her. Amber, this... I rattle the pack again. This is awfully bad for you. You should never, ever start. She frowns and crosses her arms, turning her snout up with a spitting image of her mother's irritation painted on her face.
Then why didn't you and Uncle Philippe do it?
She looks at me with the same sparks of anger I saw in Lucy's eyes more than once.
El tío Moses no lo hace.
Moses stopped smoking shortly after Amber arrived at our house. He told me to do the same, but did I listen? No, of course not. Never smoked around Amber, but still, I broke the word I gave to Lucy. Amber's words suddenly ring in my ears, taking on a wholly new meaning. Daddy, you smell like ash. Ash. Ash and cinders. Is that what's left of your promise to Lucy? What can you say that won't sound like cope or some weasel excuse? Face the facts. You're right. I look at the cigs. You're right. Lead by example. That's what I'm intending to do, Conscience. Better late than never. No shit, really? Could you imagine how Lucy would react to the fact that you're smoking like a tank engine? I can't stop a light shiver. Rather not think about that. I'll stop smoking, Amby. I crush the pack in my hand. Bit of an overkill, but I need to send a clear message. Maybe I'll get Uncle Philippe to stop smoking too. I smile at her. Now, let's go and see if Moises needs any help. I get up to my feet. She wipes her tears, looks up at me with a beaming smile, and takes my hand.
Okay.
I lead her to the orchid, where Moises is snipping some of the overgrown branches. Seeing Amber, he pauses his work and starts chatting it up with her, keeping her occupied enough for me to go inside the house and into the kitchen. I open the cupboard under the sink and take the crushed pack of cigs out of my pocket. After looking at it for a moment with feelings of guilt and self-disgust making my stomach turn, I throw it angrily into the trash. I reach into my pocket again and fish out the lighter, but I don't throw it out. I do consider it for a second, but the thought of who gifted it to me makes me hesitate. Finally, decide to keep it. I could use a keepsake. And a reminder of the promise I gave. How hard could it be to quit smoking? A couple days pass by, during which I find out that quitting smoking isn't what it's shaped up to be initially. It's actually quite difficult. Who knew, right? I'll be honest with myself here. I can't do it. Fuck, I need a cig now. God damn it. It's been only a couple of days since I made my promise to Amber, and those couple of days were an arduous agony of cravings and a thin mist of confusion fogging up my brains. Add to that, Amber incessantly asking me to take her to Unc Moe's. I can say with certainty that the better part of the week has been quite unpleasant. Hey, kid, is everything okay with you? I look up from my plate and see Mo, accompanied by Stella. I felt their eyes on me for the past couple minutes. Occasional glances thrown at me and Amber after the stego went with him and sit at a far table to talk. Stella asked me to tag along, wanting to see if he'd take her back in after a sudden termination of her employment here, something which she told us happened because of Chet. I'm fine. I rubbed my nose. Are you sure? Yep, I'm quite sure. He straightens up, raising his eyebrows. The waitress, sitting behind the counter, frowns while Amber tilts her head, staring at me across the table in silent reproach. My cheeks turn hot, flushed from embarrassment. What the hell is wrong with me? I've been snappy like hell ever since I threw my cigs in the trash. I can't focus. It feels as if someone pumped all the blood from my brain and replaced it with water. Fucking hell. If that's how I get after a few days without smokes, it's no wonder Reed needed constant support and rehab. Can't even begin to imagine how it felt, trying to stay clean after years of shooting dope.
Daddy's trying to quit smoking.
Amber suddenly speaks up.
He promised that he would stop.
Mo's look softens slightly. The waitress's glare doesn't lose a shred of its scorn. I squirm in my seat, feeling like a prisoner during an interrogation. Or a worm on a hook. A rescue comes from an unexpected direction, namely from Stella. From what I gathered by glancing at them as they spoke, the old fart would take her back. Stella's smile told me as much, and judging from that toothy grin, the old fart missed that pear-colored oddball.
No, it's hard to quit smoking. And you get all snappy and stuff. Angry, can't sleep.
I blink and turn to her. She's giving me a very understanding and sympathetic look. Did she used to smoke? As if to answer my unspoken question, she continues, her arms crossed, neck bent slightly.
I used to smoke, you know.
She looks up at me.
Like 2 years ago?
Amber looked shocked, staring at Stella with wide open eyes. A brief silence steals over the table, silence which is broken by Mo. Really, Stella? You've never struck me as the type to smoke. Stella smiles a tiny bit.
Oh, I smoked, I think, a pack and a half. Sometimes 2.
I almost dropped my fork. I barely go through a quarter of a pack a day on average. Hell, half a pack when the day is particularly shitty or rough. Amber is staring, and Mo even has his eyes opened and surprised. Stella looks around at us, nodding to distant memories.
Yes, I puffed like a dragon.
She looks down again, her face tensing up.
It was...
Her voice falters for a second, but she quickly finishes the sentence.
It was a really rough time, with college, work, and all the personal stuff.
We exchanged looks around the table. Amber looks very worried. She's staring at Stella with her eyes starting out of her skull in such a comical manner that I can't help but stare at her in turn. Amber's gaze lacks either shock or appallment. There's only curiosity.
How did you stop?
She asks. The stego's face sours up.
No, it wasn't easy. She lifts her head and rubs her snout. I tried vaping in the beginning, but that only helped a little. I then tried nicotine gum and patches, and that helped much more.
She looks at me.
Simply dropping the cigs is the hardest way to go about it.
Oh, really? I didn't notice. I'll keep that in mind, I nodded her. How long did it take you?
Oh, a couple of months, she says. It was hard, but worth it in the end.
I look down at the piece of my pizza, then at Stella. She's not looking at me, but at Mo, as if expecting him to say something. Amber has the most profound and satisfied look I've ever seen on anyone. After an awkward moment of silence, I turn my attention back to my food and chow down, thanking Stella in my thoughts. Nicotine patches. Of course. Why didn't I think of that? Years go by and I'm still a dumbass. I check my phone. Almost 2 in the afternoon. My visit to Doc Violet is coming up soon. Hey, Amby, help Uncle Mo in the kitchen for a bit, alright? I lean in and ruffle her hair, then shove the last bit of pizza into my mouth. Amber snorts and laughs, leaning away from my hand, but nods and keeps gnawing at her pizza. Mo grins and Stella sits down. I'll be back in 2 hours. I glance over at Stella. Can you keep an eye on her? The Stego nods.
Sure, go.
After leaving Moe's, I drive into town and buy a box of patches, then slap one on as soon as I'm out of the parking lot. Stella said it helped, I mutter, rolling down my sleeve to cover the patch. We shall see about that. I then drive to the hospital. Sign in, into the ward, down the office, into the office. It hadn't changed much over these 4 years. Some of the furniture is different, but the overall calming atmosphere of the place is still the same.
How have you been, Anon?
Violet asks, fixing a sheet of paper on the document pad. I lean back against the sofa. I'm okay. Thinking about moving out of the Cazalas. She pauses and gives me a prolonged look of interest. A small smile brightens up her face.
Since when?
Since Amber visited her grandma. I put my hands behind my head. Remember I told you how Samantha came to Amber's birthday? She nods, the pen dancing on the paper. So, we've been visiting her more lately. We're actually visiting her this weekend. And, thought came over me. How nice it would be to have a place of my own, you know? I rub my nose. She taps her snout with her pen.
Do Cazalas know about it?
I shake my head. The familiar look of unspoken question in her eyes prompts me to answer. Well, no. Not yet. I rub my nape. But I'm planning to tell them.
I see.
Her pen dances on the paper for a moment.
How are you going to get money for that? Are you going to take out a loan, or?
I rub my nose again and air up straight. My look of slight trepidation, the sudden change of posture pique her interest and alarm her somewhat. She again pauses, look in her eyes becoming uncommonly inquisitive. Here it is, pounding on my heart. My breath ain't catching at least, but I'm already blushing as if I'm about to admit something extremely embarrassing. My throat clenches, but with a snort and a cough, I force it to relax and let the words through. The Army has some neat loan programs, Doc. I say slowly. I did some research, and there's a Navy base near Volcadero. I was drive from the city. She stops noting completely and just stares at me in silent bewilderment. For a second, she wants to say something. She even opens her mouth, but then suddenly changes her mind, shuts her mouth and takes her glasses off.
Anon, we've discussed this many times already, she mutters tiredly.
I cut in. Doc, you know that I'm gonna risk life and limb now when I have a kid. I'm not gonna risk life and limb now when I have a kid. I look her in the face. I'm gonna be a mechanic or some shit. I always had a knack for tinkering with stuff. She sighs, puts her glasses back on, and gives me a look of warm reproach mingled with worry. Fuck me, she's looking at me as if I was her own son. Come to think of it, her son is in the military, so maybe there's some negative bias going on here.
Do Cazalas know?
I shake my head. She sighs and shakes hers in return.
You better tell them before you decide on this,
she says. I know. I will, but I want to talk it over with Lucy first. She nods.
I hope it goes over well.
I hope so too. But given the way she told me to abandon the idea the last time we discussed it, well... I smile crookedly. I have my doubts. Violet nods with a soft murmur and notes my reply down, then looks up at me.
Consider a lot of time has passed since then. A lot of change, both for you and for her.
She leans forward a bit as I rest my chin on my fists, glowering at the floor. I look up at her a moment later.
If you're certain that you're ready for this step, and I'll tell you now, you shouldn't take this without serious consideration. I'm talking over with her calmly and reasonably.
I will. Thanks, Doc. The next day, which is Sunday, I woke up early. I promised Samantha that I'll visit her with Amber this week, and my princess was really eager to see her grandma again. From what Sam told me, Mo will be there as well, so that's nice. I like that old fart, even if we had our ups and downs. I spend a while laying in bed, unbothered by anyone. Amber's gone to church with the Gonzales, so I have the whole house to myself. Luckily, Sophia realized long ago I won't give in to her attempts at converting me to Catholicism, so I get to sleep late on Sundays. After lounging about, thinking about the upcoming get-together, I get up and get ready. Soon after, the Gonzales come back, and after Amber changes out of her church clothes, we get in the car and leave the farm. Amber's especially quiet during our ride. She's almost ponderous, somber. Religious worship will do that to you, I guess. The old man would shit his pants out of anger if he learned that his granddaughter's a believer, but on the other hand, knowing that she's a dino would make him have an aneurysm. Prick. He can eat shit and die. I have no problems with Amber being a worshipper. If she changes her mind on it later in life, I have my girl's back no matter what. Having her be still and quiet for once is a nice change of pace. Even though I don't mind her being curious and all that, sometimes it can be quite distracting.
Daddy?
Amber looks at me just as we enter the highway. Yeah?
I saw a man near Grandma Sam's house when I was sleeping there last time.
A feeling of foreboding steals over me, immediately stifling the good mood I put myself in. But I grip my trepidation with the iron hand and, keeping my voice level low, I ask her over my shoulder. What man? Somehow I managed to make it sound casual, not panicked or worried.
Well, he's short, has purple hair. He's a raptor like Uncle Reed.
She pauses to think.
I only saw him once, though. Grandpa Eddie came out and told him to go away.
Oh, fuck. Basil, what the hell are you up to? If you try to harm Amber, I'll snap that scrawny neck of yours like a twig. You have my word, you little bastard. And he didn't appear again? When you were at the park and stuff? I ask. I see her shaking her head in the rearview mirror.
No, he only came to look at Grandma Sam's house. She pauses. Daddy, who is that? Grandma Sam was surprised when I told her I saw him.
Amber, that man's love life has been murdered by your mama? Isn't that interesting? I don't know, Amby. Focus on the road. Some weirdo, probably. It's best that you forget about him. I shrug to emphasize my words. She sits quietly for a moment, then gives a loud and returns to staring at cars passing us by. I, meanwhile, squeeze the steering wheel, my face a mask of tribulation and worry. Fuck, I haven't heard that buzzing in a while. Suddenly, an event from 4 years ago, at Rose's birthday, shoots at me from the well of remembrance. The tarot reading, Stella turning pale when she sees the two cards I managed to pull at once. Tower and the inverted sun. The tower means sudden disaster. Inverted sun means sadness and depression, if I recall correctly. There's a disaster waiting for you in the future, one that'll end up bringing you and all those around you great sadness. Stella's words ring in my ears as if she's sitting right next to me. Well, Basil's appearance after all those years sure was sudden. He looked angry, tense, scouting out a place closely tied to Lucy. What is he planning? Is he planning to hurt Lucy? Or maybe Amber? Maybe Samantha? What if he wants to hurt all of us. Samantha made Lucy who she was due to her negligence. I made her who she was due to my dumbassery. And Amber is Lucy's daughter, an obvious target if you want to hit where it hurts. The mere thought of Amber suffering at his hands makes my face turn pale from silent rage. I grip the steering wheel tighter, biting my tongue to keep a torrent of curses aimed at that little bastard from spilling out. Try. Just try, Basil boy. I'll snap you like a twig. We leave the highway and head for Samantha's house, me focused on my inner trepidations, Amber quiet and ponderous. Her demeanor changes as soon as she sees her grandma, however. She opens the window and calls out to Samantha, who came out to greet us. Then she laughs and starts babbling at me to get her out of her seat. I smirk and push Basil to the back of my mind for now. There will be a time to worry about him. Trent's not an idiot. If Sage came here again, he'd just call the cops. Speaking of the cops, I should go to the station and... No, you will enjoy this afternoon. No worries for now. Don't bring the mood down now. I get out of the car and unstrap Amber, who jumps out of the car and rushes into Samantha's arms with a loud burst of happy laughter. Samantha grabs her and spins a couple times, holding her granddaughter close to her chest with a smile so warm that even my cold, cynical heart takes notice. Trent peeks out of the house and, seeing the scene on display, smirks and waves at me. I can already hear Mo booming inside the house, asking to see his little Amber. Good morning, Miss Murphy.
Good morning, Anna. Samantha plants a small kiss on Amber's cheek. Say, Amber, do you want to help me with lunch? Yeah. She looks at me pleadingly. Puedo, papa, puedo?
I nod, laughing. Sure. Just be careful. Amber gives a little cheer. I follow Samantha inside the house, and after shaking hands with Mo and Trent, I take a seat on the couch while the T-Rex heads into the kitchen to help the two ladies with the cooking. I watch the large diner lumber into the kitchen, welcomed by Amber's cheers and Samantha's pleas for him to not knock over anything. I smile to myself and shake my head, then turn my attention to the TV. There's some TV game show on, which looks like a Family Feud ripoff. Trent, who's sitting on the other end of the couch, says nothing. We sit there for a couple minutes, the sounds of cooking in the kitchen and the sounds of TV neatly filling the silence. I still look at Trent. He seems not to pay much attention to the TV, but listening in for the conversation and laughter coming from the kitchen. A relaxed smile spreads over his face. So, he looks at me. How are you and Mo getting on? His smile widens and he crosses his arms, spreading his legs as he leans against the backrest. Oh, we're getting along all right. And he asked me to produce a commercial for his joint as soon as he heard what I do work for. A soft chuckle escapes him as he slowly shakes his head. He would not listen to any of my arguments. Get that Inco kid on the job. You keep speaking well about him. I stare at him. That's a damn good Mo impression. Isn't school already over for that Inco guy? True, but he could always use some extra money, especially after breaking up his partnership with Ben. My eyebrows shoot up. Partnership? I smirk. I thought he wanted to hug that gator. Yadkin gives me a sidelong glare. Not that kind of partnership. They wanted to start a marketing company together with one of their friends. Some things came up about Ben, which made Inco... He pauses, his expression darkening. Something went down at St. Hammond's, huh? Wonder what? Well, let's just say he wasn't pleased. He turns his head away. He's clearly uncomfortable talking about it. If you want the details, ask Sam. It's about a favorite student. He clears his throat. Anyway, he claps his hands. We go back to watching TV. Trent's mood slowly improves over the next couple minutes, during which Amber leaves the kitchen to tell us that the food will be ready in about half an hour. We both thank her, and she scoots back inside the kitchen, where there's a sudden rumble, followed by Samantha berating Mo for knocking over a chair. The huge Italian doesn't even try to rebuke her claims. He only laughs. As I listen to the commotion, a thought comes up in my mind, one which gnawed on me for a long time, but it's one which I don't have the courage to voice. It's a question. I look over at Yadkin. He's sitting with his legs spread wide, and his eyes stuck firmly onto the TV. What happened to his wife? He never mentioned her to me since we met here for the first time. Whenever my conversation with him drifted towards family matters, he'd keep a very tight lip on his ex-wife. I never pushed him to say anything more since, well, this shit is pretty personal, and he'd be nosy as well as fucked up to prod him about something he has no wish to talk about. But still, curiosity remained. I tried asking Rosa about it a couple times, but each and every single last one of those times, she either shook her head or gave me a prolonged look, or even straight up ignored me. How bad must their divorce have been to keep it all so close to his chest? Judging from Rosa's behavior, it must have been a pretty nasty affair. You're awfully quiet, Anon. Everything alright? I look at him. He's looking at me with a small smile. For a moment, I want to ask him about Basil, if he called the cops or did anything to remedy the situation, but at the last moment, I stopped myself. I'm too late, though. My mouth already opened. And having been denied this topic, it turns to another, the one which was bothering me just now. I was thinking about your wife, Trent. You never told us how you and Sam... I bite my tongue and turn my head. Shit, you goddamn idiot. What the hell's wrong with you? You just told yourself not to prod him about this. Sorry. I turn back to him. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked. He pauses again, wipes the corner of his eye and clears his throat, then looks at me. She passed away, Anon, 2 years ago. Bone marrow cancer. He shields his eyes. A few tears roll down his cheeks. Fuck. God damn it, Anon. Why can't you ever say the right thing? Her name was Julia. He wipes his eyes. She was the sweetest, kindest woman I had ever had the luck of meeting in my life. Idiot. Why are you such a dumb fuck sometimes, Anon? Years go by, and you still say whatever rattles around in the cavity you call your brain. Retard! Don't be so hard on yourself. The Anakin uncovers his eyes. I shouldn't have prodded you about this. I shake my head. I'm sorry. He lifts his hand. It's fine. You're my in-law. Well, sort of. He smirks, then turns serious. A faint smile brightens up his face. We were so happy, Yulia and I. We've been in college, you know. He pauses for a moment, smiling to a distant memory. I wait for him to continue, which he soon does. And she had such... He closes his eyes with a soft, happy, but at the same time, sad laugh. She had such beautiful blue eyes. When you looked into them, it was as if you were looking to the summer sky. He sighs deeply and sits silently for a moment, grimacing as strong emotions grip him. He's not crying, weeping. His face is intense, but it's obvious that his heart is hurting. And she had such cute little quirks, Anon. He opens his eyes. They're misty, but he's smiling a sad, wistful smile. And every day, as I left for work, she'd give me a muffin with a heart made of icing. She loved to pick flowers and put them in my hair. He touches his blonde mane to emphasize his words. She used to say that I looked like the king of spring. He laughs, but almost immediately saddens and slowly shakes his head. I wish you could have met her, Anon. She was the best woman in the world. I nod, slowly rubbing my jaw, taking a moment to think about what to say. She sounds like a happy person. I look him in the eyes. She must have enjoyed the hell out of life. He nods, a small smile dancing on his lips for a second before sadness seals over his features like a cloud of mist, obscuring this tiny light of happiness behind a wall of gloom. He covers his eyes again, sitting still for a long moment. There's a silence between us, broken up by the sounds of activity in the kitchen. Voices of Mo, Sam, and Amber happily babbling away. One hell of a contrast to the mood me and Trent are in. He finally breaks the silence between us, speaking without removing his hand from his face. Yes, he mutters. She loved life, and always. He pauses, swallows hard, and after a long pause, continues. She always wanted to live to the fullest. Always happy, smiling, no matter how bad things got. He swallows again, pausing to compose himself and stop the trembling of his voice. It made what happened to her so much harder to bear. Another long pause, much longer than any that came before, during which he sits still, breathing slowly, gripping the armrest with one hand, while keeping the other on his face, obscuring most of his face. The rapid tremble in the corner of his lips tells me more about his internal turmoil than 1,000 words could. Fuck me, I really shouldn't have asked him about this. Fucking hell, he's always so happy, energetic, kind of eccentric at times, and yet all this pain. Raptor, Jesus. I reach out and touch his arm. He stiffens, but the tremble of his lips subsides. He nods and mutters his thanks. I let go and wait for him to continue, but he's quiet for a very long moment, which drags on into an awkward silence. So, when did Sam come into the picture? He lowers his hand and lifts his head to look at me. She learned of Julia's condition early on at her time at St. Helens. He looks towards the kitchen with a soft smile. She immediately offered to help. He shakes his head, then looks back at me. She and Julia became fast friends, and whenever my wife needed anything, and I wasn't available, Samantha stepped in. He lets out a soft chuckle. Sometimes she'd drop whatever she was doing to come to Julia's and I's aid. He saddens again. She was of great help, especially after it became hard for Julia to get up and walk. He shields his eyes and, with a shuddering sigh, lowering his head once more. She visited us every day, always ready to help. She's a great woman, Anon. A woman with a heart of gold. I nod. With a heart of gold indeed. A heart of gold that's been broken many times. Yeah, Samantha's a damn good woman. He nods too, a small smile lingering on his snout before vanishing behind the veil of the mists of gloom. Julia finally had to go to the hospital. She resisted to the last, telling me that the day she goes there, she's as good as dead. But in the end, she listened to my pleas. She went through chemo, and for a time, things got better. Fuck. I never met this woman, and yet... Raptor, Jesus fucking Christ. Seeing my tears, Yadigan nods. He looks at me with gratitude for a second, then relapses into his gloomy mood. She had a brief remission. But then it came back. The cancer. His fingers dig into the armrest in helpless anger. Multiple metastasis. When we heard the diagnosis, I broke down in tears. She didn't. He looks me in the eyes. You know what she did? I shake my head, rubbing the tears from my eyes. She told me to take her home. A sad smile spreads over his face. She said, I have little time left. I don't want to spend it here. Take me home. I want to die on our bed. In your arms. Oh, God. I'm so sorry, Trent. He nods, and after a short pause, he continues. Julia got her wish in the end. He smiles sadly. Samantha was at our house when it happened. Her shoulder was amongst the first that I cried on. He pauses and turns back to the TV to hide his pained expression from Amber, who scampers out of the kitchen and runs up to us.
Daddy, Grandpa, lunch is almost ready.
That's great, Amby. I smile. Tell us when it's done, okay? She nods and runs back into the kitchen, her chirpy voice joining the other two in vigorous conversation.
Trent looks after her as she disappears into the adjacent room, then turns to me, his gloom replaced with a soft, melancholic smile. You're lucky to have her. Yulia and I always wanted to have children, but it never worked out. He saddens for a second, then brightens up slightly. Well, now I have a wonderful granddaughter, and that's enough for me. I nod. You know what Lucy did? He nods in return. It was all over the news. I had no idea that Samantha was a mother until she told me herself. Do you think I should have left her after all that happened? He rubs his jaw with the back of his hand, slightly mulling over my question. I don't know. I've read the transcripts, and it's obvious that she was hounded into a corner, but I can't blame Samantha for immediately disowning her. I would have done the exact same thing if I were in her place. Wasn't as immediate as he thinks, but I won't dispel his impressions. Not my call to make. You stuck by her. I blink, bowled out of my reverie. Trent is pointing at me. It was your decision, and you're a smart guy. I'm sure you gave it serious thought. You have no idea, Trent. Yeah, I did. I rubbed my nose. Amber wants to meet Lucy. I glance towards the kitchen. Yetkin gives me a prolonged look, narrowing his eyes, his brows drawn. You don't sound enthusiastic about this idea. Well, given what Lucy did, if she's not a danger to anyone anymore, why shouldn't Amber go and meet her? Lucy's her mother. Yeah. Yeah, he's right. You're right. I paused briefly. So, how did you and Sam get together? His gloom subsides, supplanted by a happy melancholy. And after Yulia's passing, Samantha was there for me the most, excluding Yulia's parents and my closest family. He smiles. She showed me so much care and understanding, you wouldn't believe it. I have a pretty good idea, I think. And one day I noticed just how beautiful she is. Trent continues. She isn't more beautiful than Yulia. No woman is. It's a different kind of beauty. His smile takes on the dreaminess similar to the one I see on Reed's face whenever he talks about Rosa. Well, a year after Yulia passing away, I asked her out for dinner, and things went from there. As if Trent mentioning dinner was some sort of signal, Amber scoots out of the kitchen and runs up to us. She stands on her toes, gripping the top of the couch's backrest, staring up earnestly. Daddy, Grandpa, lunch is ready. Trent laughs and ruffles her hair. He then looks at me. Come on, Anon. Let's not keep the lady waiting. I grin. Yeah. Let's go. A couple of days passed since me and Trent had our little heart-to-heart. I can't stop thinking about what he told me. About himself, his late wife, Samantha, Amber, Lucy. The thoughts swirl and swell inside my head as I get up and get ready for my visit to the hospital. They buzz in my head as I eat breakfast. They swirl in my mind like a swarm of bees as I drive towards the city. Fucking hell. Who thought that slip of the tongue would result in a nuke being dropped on you? I snort, shaking my head. Idiot. Reed's slip of the tongue about Trish 3 years ago was one hell of a nuke for both of you and Lucy. Should have thought about it before you spoke up. It's not only the thoughts of what Trent said that fill my poor bald head. They're fighting for space in my skull with thoughts in a beer of dread about how the upcoming visit and how it will go. Dr. Violet's assurances and encouragements, both from the last and this week's session, ring in my ears. It'll go well. Talk it over with her if you're sure. And just as I feared, it does not go over well. You want to do what? As soon as I breathed a word about the army, Lucy bristled and stared at me with such a wild look that I almost stood up and left on the spot. Somehow, though, I keep my composure and take her surprised anger head on. I'm not going to be a damn Marine, Lucy. Look into those wide-open amber eyes. ignoring the look of anger and hurt driving me through like a spike. I'm gonna... She taps on the table with her finger, interrupting me. You promised that you'll drop this dumbass idea. She leans forward, narrowing her eyes. Have you thought about Amber? Christ, Anon. She rests her back against the chair. I frown. Did I think about Amber? Of course I fucking did. Why the hell do you think I'm considering this? I stare at her. I don't want her living all her life at the farm. She narrows her eyes, leaning towards me again. I meet her for stare for stare, unblinking, unwavering, ready for anything. What's wrong with that? She asks with a raised eyebrow. What if they ship you off to Afghanistan or some shit? You're gonna get blown up and then what? They won't fucking ship me off anywhere, I calmly reply. You're gonna what? She snaps. You're gonna go gallivanting around the desert in the middle of some bumfuck nowherestan? I shake my head. My composure checks her anger. She stops, frowning and gesticulating, waiting for me to speak. I did some research, I tell her. I'll become a mechanic in a naval base. There's one near Volcadera. I pause. She doesn't say anything, so I continue. I'll specify that I have a kid and that her mother is a crazy bitch. She cuts in. I shake my head again. That her mother is in need of special care. They will not ship me off anywhere. They'd need a permit from an admiral or something. She rests her back against the chair and gives me a long, intent look in which fear and anxiety mingle with annoyance. What will you do if they do ship you off somewhere? Who will take care of Amber? Rosa? Her mom? What? I put my hand on hers. She freezes. I will not let them separate us. She sighs and narrows her eyes, then pulls her hand from under mine. What's wrong with living on the farm? She looks at me in the eyes. She can run around the yard and shit. She can get plenty of exercise by helping and all that. Should I tell her about the gun Cazal keep in their house? No, not now. It's a shitty thing keeping a secret from her, especially after all we've been through, but I fear how she would react. I want a place of my own, I say. For me, for her. I take her hand in both of mine. For us. It's not a lie. I do want a place for the three of us. She blinks. Blinks again. Her eyes widen. She opens her mouth to speak, but unable to find words suitable to convey her emotions surging like a wave inside her chest. She closes her mouth and instead shivers, tears forming in the corners of her eyes. She stares at me, working her mouth in a futile attempt at speech, but time and time again she fails. Us. Her voice trembles, as does her whole frame. A couple tears roll down the sides of her snout as she hangs her head low, shivering and silent. I don't say a word, finding myself struggling against the emotions that overpower me as well. Yes, Lucy. Yes. I know that one day you'll leave this godforsaken place and join me in the world of the living. We'll raise our daughter together as a family. God, you're such a fucking dweeb sometimes. God damn it, mouth. Well, it's true. I caress her hand. You deserve a second chance at life. She snorts, smiling sardonically. Some people don't think so. Well, I don't think so. I stop and stare at her. Her words from a couple weeks ago ring in my head, and again like the toll of a funeral bell. I destroy everything. I thought the same about myself at one point. She looks up, her eyes full of tears. But everyone, I squeeze her hand, deserves a second chance. Reed gave me a chance, we gave Trish a chance. I press my cheek to hers. You too deserve a chance. Tristan Reed didn't fucking kill anyone, she mutters angrily. They didn't rape. I squeeze her hand again. She falls silent, going completely still. For a very long, tense moment, she stares into my eyes. Then, with an angry snarl, she rips her hand out of my grip. I catch a movement behind her. It's Mike, stirring from his spot. "Settle down, Lucy," he calmly says. "I am calm," she grumbles over her shoulder. "I'm just talking with Anon." She turns back to me. "Look, this whole army shit is..." She runs her hand through her hair. "It's a lot to take in. Give me some time to think about it, okay? Don't go gallivanting around Iraq or anything, alright?" I nod. "Of course." She runs her hand through her hair again and rubs her arms with tension twisting her features. Then she stands up and turns towards the door she came in through. "I'll call you later, okay?" I want to think that she's being unusually cold, but the subtle tremble of her voice stops that thought before it fully forms. "Alright. See you, Lucy." She approaches the door. Mike steps in and unlocks it with his key card. Before she steps through the threshold, though, she looks over at her shoulder at me and gives a soft smile. "See you, dweeb. Love you." "Love you too." The door slams shut, and I'm left alone for a short time before a nurse comes in to escort me out. She tosses curious glances at me over her shoulder all the way to the nurse's station. I don't recognize her. She must be new here. Wonder what the other nurses told her about me and my visits. I'm probably the favorite topic of gossip amongst the hospital staff. I leave through the main entrance and mill about for a moment, checking my phone for any missed calls or texts, in which I find none. I pocket the phone and start walking towards the pathway leading to the hospital's parking lot, when I notice someone amongst the throng of people on the other side of the street. Someone, the sight of whom makes me stop dead in my tracks. The day of Lucy's trial. The day I saw him last time. Rushes back into my memory like a rolling thunder. His face, twisted in a grimace of hate, stands before my eyes, and his screaming as he lashes out at Trish rings in my ear like a brass bell. Basil. It's Basil, standing on the other side of the street, staring at the hospital entrance. His face is tense, pale, jaw set, eyes slightly narrowed, brows drawn, body rigid. He changed. His hair is cut short, not a buzz cut, but close. He's no longer wearing glasses, and there's a hint of a beard lingering on his snout. The first thought that comes to mind, after I manage to stamp down and push the onslaught of memories of that day in October 4 years ago out, is a wondering what he's doing here. The second is more of an urge than a coherent thought, an urge to cross the street and confront him. But before I can put my thoughts into action, he's gone. I stand there for a moment, gawking at the crowd, ignoring the jostling and shoving I receive from passersby. But he's nowhere to be seen. He's truly gone. How long has he been coming here? What is he planning? He looked tense as hell. And the look in his eyes, Raptor, Jesus fucking Christ. His hatred for Lucy hadn't lessened a bit. No, it increased. Words of his sister crying on Rose's shoulder ring in my head. Mom and Dad got him a great therapist, but he hasn't made much progress in his therapy. Seems like he dropped out of that therapy altogether. Wonderful. There's an actual lunatic on the loose, scouting out Lucy's hospital for God knows how long, right under our noses. He's just so angry all the time, and sad. I can't stand to look at, but what can I do? I can't force him to be better. Well, Rosemary, your parents could have chucked him in a hospital. Would have done something. Would have kept him contained at the very least. Fuck. Shit, I need to talk to Doc Mitchell.
I turn and go back inside the hospital. The nurse at the front desk gives me a questioning look. Can I talk to Dr. Mitchell, please?
Is it about Lucy Aaron?
I nod and drum on the desk with my fingers. She picks up the receiver on the desk phone and dials the number.
Hello? Doctor, Mr. Mouse would like to speak to you.
She pauses.
Yes, it's related to his girlfriend.
She listens for a moment.
Yes, it's urgent.
She glances at me. I try my best to not show my trepidation, but the memory of Basil staring down the hospital door with enough malice to kill a man makes me shift my feet. My shoes squeak on the floor, while the nurse listens to what Doc Mitchell has to say. He sure is taking his time. After almost a minute of listening, the nurse nods and puts the receiver down.
Doc Mitchell will see you now. You know the way to his office, yes?
She gives me an expectant look. I nod, then start down the corridor. Being a regular at the place such as this for 4 years in a row has its benefits, one of which is being able to traverse its confines as freely as if I was one of the staff. I quickly make my way across the hospital, up to the second floor and down a long corridor, where, at the end, I arrive at a dark brown door. Ronald Mitchell, MD, psychiatric ward manager. I knock.
Come in, Mr. Mouse.
I enter his office, riddled with a mixture of trepidation and impatience, both stemming from my meeting with the phantom from Lucy's past. The good old doc gives me a very intent, analytical look over the folder he's been perusing prior to my entry. A glance at it tells me it's not Lucy's.
Well, sit down, Mr. Mouse. Sit down.
Doc Mitchell puts the file down and twines his fingers, waiting for me to take a seat.
What did you want to discuss?
Well, I saw someone in front of the hospital. I briefly relate to my run-in with Basil. Initially, he listens to me with little interest, but when I describe Basil to him, his demeanor changes. He opens his eyes a bit wider, leans slightly forward, the look in his eyes changing from nearly flippant to that of deep interest. After I'm done, he gives a nod, then another, then leans back in his chair and puts the tips of his fingers together.
Yes. Lucy mentioned this young man to me a couple of times. She told me that she's responsible for the death of his boyfriend.
He rubs his snout, and after a short pause, he nods his hands at me.
She didn't tell me more. Would you like to tell me something about how things stand between them?
I hesitate. On one hand, he has the right to know. He is Lucy's doctor, after all. On the other hand, she didn't feel like sharing those details with him, even after all this time she spent in his care. Still, telling him is relevant to what I came to warn him about. So I tell him about the trial, how Basil acted before it began, how he acted during it, and how he lashed out at all of us after its conclusion. I omit no detail, leaving no stone unturned. Lucy's safety is at stake here. Being thorough is the best way to go about it. Just like before, he listens with keen interest, slowly nodding his head at points. After I'm done, I give a brief pause, then add, "You should keep an eye out on him. Put up a security guard outside or something. Don't let him get in."
As long as he stays out on the street, we can't do anything, Mr. Mouse. It's a public space. As soon as he attempts entry on the hospital premises, well...
He pauses.
I'll inform security. They'll keep an eye out, as you put it.
I'll take what I can get. Thank you, Doctor. He nods and picks up the file he's been reading.
Any time, Mr. Mouse.
He gestures at the door.
Now, if you'd be so kind as to leave, I would be much obliged.
I get up with my gratitude decreased slightly due to his uncaring attitude. Whatever. He's a prick, but he's also a damn good specialist. Can't let the dramas of others get to you in that line of work, I suppose. Bye, Doc.
Good day, Mr. Mouse.
I leave the hospital, get in my car, and after spending way too much time in traffic jams, I return home. The first thing I see upon my return is Amber, giving Stella a guided tour around the farm. I'm pretty sure Stella knows how to get around this place thanks to years of friendship with Rose and subsequent visits, but from how she listens and chats with Amber, she either forgot or is just indulging her. Either way, these two seem to be having a good time just moseying around, so I make no attempt at interrupting them. Instead, I head straight inside the house, from which I soon emerge with Simone and Moises. After a couple hours of work, Simone allows us half an hour's rest. Moises gives me a curious look when I sit down with him under the tree on the hill. "You're not smoking?" I instinctively reach for my cigs and fumble around in my pocket for a moment in an attempt to find them, before I realize what I'm doing. With a sideways glare at Moises, I stop and sit up straight. "You know that I'm trying to quit," I grumble. "God damn, this heat is killing me." I wipe the sweat off my forehead. My shirt's clinging at my back as well, which is just fucking wonderful. "By Lynn and Anon, you won't sweat as much." Yeah, right. Been living here for 4 years and I sweat like a damn pig. Fuck it. I pull my shirt off and toss it in the grass next to me. Moises glances at me with a raised eyebrow, smirking crookedly. "¿Qué te pasa, Skinny? ¿No soportas el calor?" I flip him off, which only causes him to chuckle and flip me off in return. I grin and carefully rest my back against the tree, stretching out with a sigh of contentment when the wind picks up. That's better. Natural AC. I glance down the hill and see Stella, Amber, and a small flock of Rose's cousins who came today with a visit. The ankylosaurs are following the Pterostego duo, obviously having nothing better to do. The Amber is pulling Stella along by the hand. At one moment, Stella looks up and sees me, then stops for a moment, struck by the sight of me shirtless. She's blushing. Rose's cousins, curious of what she's looking at, follow her gaze and start staring at me in turn. Great. An audience. That's exactly what I need. Oh god, they're murmuring amongst themselves. Impeccable fucking timing, Anon. For fuck's sake, you always had a knack for those. Shit, they're pointing at me. Think, dumbass, think. Diversion. "Hey there," I wave at them. "How's the tour going, Amby?" Amber stops tugging at Stella's arm, which she's been doing for the past minute with increasing impatience, and looks up at me, then returns the wave. "I want to show her the horses." She tugs on Stella's hand. "Vamos, Stella." The stego, as if a spell was broken, stops staring at me and follows Amber, who starts ranting about the farm's prized horses. Stella tosses a look over her shoulder from time to time, aimed at me. My step-cousins, most of which are Felipe's daughters, linger behind for a moment before quickly following the stego. "You did that on purpose?" Moises mutters. "I did what on purpose?" "You took your shirt off to wow them." "It's hot, I'm a human, I've been working all day, and I'm in boiling fucking heat." "And you picked the perfect vantage point for showing off?" He chuckles. "What are you suggesting?" I nod at the group, now a clump of tiny figures in the distance. Moises shrugs. "You don't do shit like this without a reason. You saw Stella walking around the farm and decided to show off." I punch him lightly in the arm. "Stop being a dumbass." I grumble. "Never gonna abandon Lucy." He shrugs again. "I'd keep my options open if I were you." Years go by, and Moises still spits the most insane drivel from time to time. What is that supposed to mean? Why did they never let her out of the hospital? He looks at me. "Your daughter needs a mother." "She will leave it. I'm sure of it." "Okay, but when?" He turns to me. "Time doesn't wait for no one, hermano." I clench my fist and open my mouth to tell him to stop spewing bullshit, but the weight of his question makes me pause. I don't doubt that she's going to leave the hospital one day, but when? In 2 years? 5? 10? I said that Amber, her and I will live together, but what if she's going to be stuck there for the next decade? How will that affect Amber? Amber's going to be going to kindergarten soon. What after? Won't be able to keep the truth about Lucy from her forever. Would it be better for her to meet her mom earlier, instead of learning about how her through horrific acts she committed? I didn't fucking murder anyone. Fuck me sideways and upside down. I don't know. Rub my eyes. Her doctor isn't telling me shit, no matter how many times I ask him. Moises shrugs once more. "Well, better not to worry then." He stretches out and crosses his arms behind his head. Don't worry about shit you can't do anything about. Yeah, I know. I rub my nose. Whatever. A loud whistle and familiar booming laugh sweeps away my foul mood in a wave of hot embarrassment and awkwardness. My, Anon, look at you! Showing off in front of my girls? Philippe is leaning out of the living room window, grinning at me mischievously. With a curse, I grab the t-shirt, still damp from my sweat, and pull it over my head in a flash. That incites another boom of mirth from my aunt, accompanied by her wagging her finger at me. The implication of that gesture makes me turn beet red, which prompts a third boom of laughter, after which my dear aunt vanishes from the window. Dear God in heaven, this woman is impossible sometimes. Why is she like this? I grumble. Well, she's right. Moises shrugs. They're my cousin's way. I jab him with my elbow. He jumps and glares at me. Well, not my blood. This guy, I swear on all that's good and holy. We're after Jesus Christ, dude. Ew. I grimace. Is this what they teach at Sunday school? He frowns and punches my arm. Que te den, pendejo. I rub my arm with a roguish grin. He glares at me and flips me off. His gaze shifts from me to someone approaching from the foot of the hill. At the sight of who, he gets up and gestures at me to do the same. I don't need his hand signals. You can't mistake Simone's heavy tread for anyone else's. I spring to my feet almost the same time as Simone's voice booms overhead. Come, we need to prepare the ballot. Órale, papa, I nudge Moises. Vamos, carnalito. A lot of hard work later, evening steals over the farm, and soon a chill wind starts whistling amongst the hills. Felipa and her many daughters have left while me and Moises were busy in the storeroom, making the dinner much less awkward than it would have been otherwise. And after dinner, me, Rosa, Reed, and Stella sit on the porch under the slowly darkening sky, Amber having gone to bed soon after dinner. Sounds of some anime streaming from the living room and out of the open front door, with Marisa, Moises, and my younger step-siblings shouting enthusiastically in Spanish. Sophia sits in a wicker armchair in front of the garage, talking to someone who's tinkering with the truck inside. Stella looks up at the night sky and sighs, rubbing her shoulder with a slight frown. Rosa, sitting in Reed's laps, with his hands around her waist and her arm around his neck, looks at her. What's wrong, Stella? Stego turns her head away for a moment. Then, with another sigh, she turns it back to Rosa. I almost expected to see tears in her eyes, but no. She's calm. I myself am standing by the couch occupied by the two lovebirds, my hands in my pockets. She's sitting on the steps of the porch. I've just been thinking. She looks up to the starry night sky, her face solemn and set. About those past 3 years, I mean. 3 of us exchanged looks. We've been avoiding the subject like fire ever since she came here, not wanting to disturb her, but even yours truly, as much of a dumbass as he is, knows how much it's been gnawing on her. Before Christmas Eve. Her attention snapped back to her. After me and Anon talked, I went back home. Mom asked me what was wrong, and I didn't want to tell her, but she kept asking and asking. Stella sighs and rests her snout in her palm, and leans forward, resting her elbow on her knee. So I told her where I'd been, and what I'd been doing. A cold shiver crawls down my spine. Thought of Amanda's reaction to treatment her daughter received from her, at the time, best friend makes my skin crawl. My eyes dart towards Rosa. She's not looking at the Stego, but at some point far away on the horizon. Reed stroking her hair, hugging her tightly, but he doesn't say anything. She got mad. Of course she got mad, but that you two already know, I think. She looks at us. She called me and told me that you two came to visit, to check on me. Rose and I nod simultaneously. Stella's voice quivers. She lifts her other hand to her face and sits in silence for a moment, a quick tremble passing over her. I was in a bad spot. I moved in with Chet.
Her hand falls, revealing a crooked, sour smirk. Rosa stirs to get up. Stella turns her head to her without lifting it and looks at Stella with a sad reassurance lingering in her eyes. My stepsis pauses, settles down, and waits for her to continue. Stella turns away from us and, once again, glues her eyes to the ground. It was fine in the beginning, I mean. It was kind of hard, balancing college, work, and our relationship, but I managed. She smirks. Somehow. But after a few months, he changed. Her features harden. It was gradual, you know? She looks at us. There's no sadness, no self-reproach, no depression, nothing like that. Instead, her look is full of bitterness. Seeing Rosa's tightened jaw and clenched fists, and my surprised expression, she curls her lips in a smirk. It was little things in the beginning. He wasn't as gentlemanly towards me. He wasn't as delicate. He didn't compliment me as much as before. Her tone is calm, and yet the same bitterness as that which is twisting in her features rings clear in her voice. I didn't notice it at first. I thought that maybe I wasn't trying hard enough. He told you that? I ask. She turns her head to me and shrugs. He never told me how he felt. Not directly. He had to keep his macho shtick. She turns her head away and sighs. Things kept getting worse and worse. In my second year of college, we had our first real argument. Rosa stirs again. She doesn't get off Reed's lap, but to let off his neck and turn towards Stella fully. Reed rests his snout on her shoulder, his eyes glued to the stego. Did he... Rosa's voice trembles softly. Did he hit you? Stella shakes her head. No, he never hit me, but he said so many nasty things to me that day. She looks at her, and I believed what he said. She snorts. He was sweet and caring towards me before that. Why would he say things if they weren't true? What did he say? I hazard a question. She glances at me over her shoulder with a bitter smile. He said that I'm inept. Stupid. In the corner of my vision, I see movement. Rosa. She's gone rigid. That I'm wasting time and money trying to be an artist. He accused me of cheating on him. A low hiss escapes Rosa, making Stella pause. Reed touches Rosa's snout with his, takes her fist in his hand and starts kneading on it softly. Slowly, gradually, tension leaves Rosa's body, her features softening, her eyes not as narrow as before. She rests herself against Reed's chest, which is followed by a long moment of silence between us four. Stella sits still and silent, waiting maybe for anyone to say anything, and when no one interjects, she shrugs and continues where she left off. He said a lot of crap. It was bullshit. Lies. But I believed them. She sighs tiredly. How could I have been so damn blind? You couldn't have predicted that he would turn out this way, Stella. Besides a tired shrug, Rosa's attempts at reassurance have no effect on Stella. There were signs from the beginning. She looks up at Rosa. Remember when he punched that guy who danced with me at prom? She snorts, her crooked smirk faltering, replaced by a grimace of pure bitterness. I was too damn blind, Rosa. What happened after? I ask. Stella sighs again. Well, I didn't want to drop out of college or out of Moe's, but bit by bit, he wore me down. Mom didn't know anything about what was going on. She grimaces. I didn't want to worry her. I got pretty good at pretending. Well, Wendy was quite convinced. Why didn't you tell your mother? He said that he'd leave me if I did. She looks up at me. And there's more. There's a long pause. He said he'd hurt himself if I left him, and then, when I almost had a panic attack because of that, he told me to stop overreacting. She shakes her head. Smoke and mirrors. It's very lively the last time we saw him, I mutter. She nods with a bitter smirk, then turns serious. We sit quietly for a couple of minutes, neither of us willing to continue the conversation. The stars twinkle in the sky. It's cold, distant, and as uncaring as they always were, while the leaves of the avocado trees rustle softly in the wind, the sound mingling with the distant noise of the sea lapping against the shore. Rosa presses her cheek against Reed's, her eyes glued to Stella. Stella chuckles softly. Stella chuckles slowly and shakes her head, then looks at us. Mom wanted me to be happy. I thought I'd be happy with Chad, but, well. She chuckles again. In my ears, that somber, bitter laugh sounds more like a scream of anguish rather than some sign of mirth, no matter how twisted. A glance at Rosa and Reed plainly shows me they feel very much the same. She's looking at Stella with compassion, sadness, nigh depression, to come over and comfort the Stegos somehow. He stares at her in a state of quiet shock, with eyes slightly whitened and his mouth open. Well, it didn't work out. Stella snorts without looking at either of us, then turns her head. So that's how things were for me for the past 3 years. I've been yelled at, ridiculed, chained up by words. She clenches her fist. But no more. Rosa shifts in Reed's laps. What do we do now? I'll make something of myself. Stella's back to not looking at us. I'll finish college. I'll find a job and live the life I've been denied. Sounds like a plan. What are you three gonna do? We look over at one another. I have plans of my own, but I'd rather save the grand reveal for later, so as not to spoil the mood. So I keep a tight lip for now, waiting for either of my companions to speak in my stead. Rosa speaks first. Well, I want to expand my business and... She looks into Reed's eyes with a soft, warm smile. I want to marry Reed. I'm unperturbed by the news, in complete opposition to Stella. The Stego fully turns towards the couple, staring at them wide-eyed. Her whole frame is still as a stone column. Even her tail stops moving for a couple seconds. Noticing my lack of reaction, she arches her eyebrow and tilts her head. I've known about it for some time. I shrug. Sophia already knows. I nod at the old ankylosaur. Simone and Marisa don't. Stella turns to the happy couple. When are you gonna tell them? Reed chuckles. Soon. As for my plans, I'm gonna be an engineer. He nuzzles Rosa's cheek and glances at me. You're nervous, bro. Got anything to tell us? I only now realize that I've been shifting on my feet for the past minute or two, and that my heart has been playing on my ribs like a galley drummer driving slaves. Tensing myself up to stop the shifting, the slight tremble in my hands helps in containing the signs of nervousness, but cat's out of the bag. Well, fuck it. I was considering joining the army. The somber atmosphere is gone in an instant. First replaced by an air of disbelief, after which tension, thick and heavy, blankets the scene like a shroud of mist. Rosa turns her head and stares at me for a couple moments, her pupils shrinking, eyes narrowed, brows drawn, body as stiff as a board. Reed, on the other hand, looks at me with his eyes open a bit wider, with the looks of perplexity plain on his face. Stella, meanwhile, stares at me over her shoulder with her eyes the size of teacup bladders, a slight pallor of face, and her brows so high that they almost venture up to her forehead. Mama told you. I know what Mom told me. I thought this through, thank you very much. I cut Rosa off. I don't want to be a Marine. Then what do you want to be? Rosa asked sardonically. A mechanic. The three dinos exchanged looks. You can be a mechanic without joining the army, Reed remarks. Won't be able to afford a house. Or even an apartment. That isn't shitty, at least. Rosa's eyebrows shoot up. Why would you need to buy a house? She demands. I glance at her. She's gripping Reed's arm pretty tightly. Not a surprise, I suppose. Reed's grimacing a little, but he's silent, joining her and staring me down. The hospital staff won't let Lucy live here, not with a gun in the house, I argue. It's Reed's turn to draw his eyebrows up. Stella doesn't comment, and Rosa's expression does not change, nor does she take her eyes off of me, ignoring Reed asking what I'm talking about. I want to have a place for her to stay after she leaves the hospital. Do you think her mom will let her stay over? I ask her with a bitter, crooked smirk. Reed can't take his girl's loving grip any longer and lets out a soft hiss, which makes her look at him and realize she's crushing his arm in her grip. She lets go and a flurry of apologies muttered to him, which he accepts with a soft, loving smile and an assurance that it's not a big deal. After making sure that he's unhurt, she turns to me with a crooked smirk at defeat. Point taken, hermanito. She turns serious. Does she know? She was the first whom I consulted, I reply. How did she react? About as well as expected. She snorts and shakes her head, scattering her copper tresses over Reed's face, causing him to sneeze and giggle. He pulls her in for a tight hug around her waist, to which she's little opposed, but her eyes never leave my face. And what if she says no? I'll try to convince her, I reply. I want us to have normal lives. Well, as normal as we can hope for after all this. Me, her, Amber. I close my eyes with a slight smile. 4 years of sitting on my ass in an army base, and I'll be out. I open my eyes and look at Rosa. You see, the army has this housing loan program for the servicemen. There you go. That's another chapter for the books, ladies and gentlemen. What did I say? About an hour and a half? That was about it. We good. Also, I think earlier I saw Kev say like, "Oh, Yadikin pull the James moment," and I was thinking the same goddamn thing the whole time. Haha, Anyanya's in danger. Needs to buy a house so Humo doesn't have to speak Spanish anymore. Fucking real as shit. No, wait, Amber speaks Spanish, so we're kind of cooked anyways. Not even 3 hours? Damn right, not even 3 hours. You got your fucking chapter. I hope when they have Thanksgiving that Reed remembers to get the turkey, unlike last time. Well, next week, chapter 23. And then the week after that, potentially chapter 34 and 35. We are in the home stretch now, ladies and gentlemen. Look how much we have read. Duolingo bird is upon you, and he's shaking his head angrily. 23? Damn, we reading backwards? No, I just misspeak. You know that. We going back in time, boys. Chapter 23. What even was chapter 23? Where were we here? We were during the court scene. Soon we truly will have none in the chamber. Ain't got nothing in the chamber, dog. Alright, fellas. Question, are you gonna read Bad Apple? Maybe. How long is Bad Apple? Bad Apple. What this is, yeah, I really should have thought about this before I tried. Cock and ball torture? What? What? Oh, this is terrible. Oh, this fucking sucks. I don't want to be here anymore. This is bad. Man. Why is everybody gonna fucking Bad Apple? Necromancy. Abusive. Okay, I don't wanna keep going. Let's just type Snoot Game. Snoot Game will work, right? We should get that. Snoot food. This sucks! This fucking sucks!
I don't want to be. Fucking hell. Turning off display capture. You guys are just getting Ben. You're getting Ben again. uh. Bad Apple's about 150,000 words in 12 chapters. Yeah, we could do Bad Apple at some point, for sure. How are Olivia and Iko doing well in this timeline? You know. Oh my god, Ben, hi. Pickle Fick when? You guys tire me. I feel withered. Boys. I'll be back on Wednesday at our usual time. I don't know what we'll be doing just yet. I'll figure it out. For those of you who don't know, we are planning on having this week's community night be Sub Rosa. I'll probably let people know so that way they can get everything situated on their end prior. It is free. You won't have to worry about that. Maybe at some point this week I'll have Jake like put something together for the Discord so that people have like a quick little reference on how to play and all that, because the game is a little esoteric, but that's fine. Personally, I'm more of a fan of Dom Rosa. God damn it. God damn it, Vise. All right. But yeah, with that, tomorrow is going to be a no-show because it's my watch night. Wednesday we'll be back and it'll be a good-ass time. Until then, anybody who's in chat, but you're lurking otherwise, hope you have a good time watching. Hope you have a good rest of your day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. And I will see you on Wednesday. Take care until then.